Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are again taking a look at how to integrate DeepSeek's API in a new extension called Cline. So now Cline is not exactly very new. It has been out there for a while now, but they have come out with a new update which is really good and really promising. Before we take a look at Cline, let's try and understand what it is actually. It's basically a coding extension which you can install in VS Code. And it takes a prompt in natural language and it starts creating and writing all the code in different files. And even now it can execute those commands in the terminal to get it up and running. So now it's really interesting because a lot of people are already talking about platforms like Cursor. So Cursor is a AI code editor which is gaining a lot of traction for good reasons because it's really good in what it does. But the thing is that the price associated with this is a little bit steep for some people. So if you are working on a smaller project and you just want to use your own API key, DeepSeek can be a really good option because it's dirt cheap and it's doing a really good job in coding abilities as well. Coming back to the repository of Cline, before we start installing this in our VS Code editor, let's just try and see what new updates that they have come out with, which is checkpoints where you can compare and restore to different file versions that were written by the AI. Less number of APIs are now used because the files do not have to be written again and again. It just changes that particular part of the code that is required. So with these things, let's see how we can install Cline in our VS Code editor. Take a look at how we can install Cline extension in our VS Code and start working with it. So once you have opened up your VS Code, all we have to do is go to extension section and we have to search for Cline here. On the top, we'll see the result. This is the plugin that we have to install. You can see that it is already gaining a lot of traction with so many downloads already happened. All we have to do is click install. Because it's a small extension, this should be done fairly quickly. Then we can come back to our file section and close this extension. And on the right bar, we can start seeing our Cline tool here. Now, because I've already installed it previously just to test it out, might look a little different in your case because it will ask you to enter an API key for any of the LLM provider of your choice. Let's start taking a look at some of the settings that are there in this extension. So if we go to the setting, it asks for what API provider do we like to use. In this video, we are going to take a look at DeepSeek, but if you want to use it with OpenRouter, Anthropic or Gemini, or even local LLM providers like LM Studio or Olama, you can go ahead with that. Now let's set this up again. So if I want to use DeepSeek, I'll go to the DeepSeek platform to get my API key. I'll copy this API key and I'll enter it here and I'll click done. Now we are ready to use Cline. But before that, let's see this particular setting here which says auto approve, and right now it's checked also. What does this mean is you can by default give permission to Cline to maybe read files and directories, edit files and execute safe commands. You can uncheck them if you don't want to use this, but in my case, I am keeping all of these three checked. Once this is done, we can start working with Cline. Right now, just for this demo, I'll make a small notepad app using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. As soon as I do that, we can see that it says API request. Now it's sending out an API request to DeepSeek and it's starting to create all the necessary files. So you can see that it has created index.html and it's writing it in diff format. Now it's sending an API request for CSS file. And all of this is getting created autonomously. Now it's again sending an API request for the JavaScript file. And the best part is we can also see the number of tokens it's sending and receiving and the API cost we have used till now. So you can see how cheap this is till now. So now this agent says that task has been completed, and it also gives an overview of what all it has completed. Now it's asking me to execute this particular command to start this particular app. So if I click run command, it will open up this notepad app, and you can see just the way I've asked it to create a simple full screen notepad app, and it has created that. Let's see if I can write something. Yeah, so I can use it as an online notepad. Now let's see another thing, how we can make changes to this particular app. I can go back and I can start asking some changes to this particular app. Let's say I want to add 2 buttons for saving the note and for clearing the note. I've given it very small and brief command of adding 2 buttons, save and clear. It's again sending an API request. Now you can see that in diff format, it is making changes to all the code files and inserting them into their respective files. This makes sure that less number of tokens and API cost is involved. So now we can see that it says task is completed. It again says to run command and open up this app. Great. So now we can see that we have a save button, which also gives toast notification, and I can use clear button and it clears out everything. So now another feature has been added. So this is interesting because this gives an idea of how coding agents are changing the narrative. Something like Cursor, which is pricey, you can just download this particular plugin, join it with DeepSeek, and start building great things. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. See you in the next one.